Hello Unigame fans, it's the week after Gamescom, so here is a mega huge week of new releases, so let's begin with Shadow of the Ninja Reborn, a remake of a game from 1990 about two assassins sent to kill a dictator residing in a futuristic New York City. Visually, it has been completely overhauled, now having modern high-bit pixel art which looks awesome, along with the classic action platforming action that the original was known for. New in this remake is an entirely new 6th stage, so work has been put into this, looking like fun with a friend. The open-world mercenary RPG with turn-based combat, Wartales, has become a runaway success, with their next paid DLC titled The Pits, which, of course, is focused on black market gladiatorial arenas. Fight for glory and rewards as you take on combat challenges designed to test your knowledge of the game, looking like a worthy addition to a must-play title. This video is brought to you by Cursebane, a pixel art katana action roguelite in which you will be slashing away through enemies, facing the Dark Lord, and to lift a curse. You might know that I love my pixel art games, so this is a no-brainer pick since it looks absolutely gorgeous, from the detailed environments like the trees to fearsome enemy and boss designs, as well as the beautiful combat animations and lighting effects. You're making your way through the ever-changing Forest of Fate, enchanting your blade with elemental powers to more effectively dispatch your enemies, with decisions that will alter your path through the forest as you encounter new locations, with each run providing a new experience. When you do fall in battle, you return to your cursed home but can reclaim powers and memories that were stripped from you, resulting in permanent upgrades, having everything that I look for in a game like this. The game will be participating in October's Steam Next Festival, so check out the demo then, but for now, wishlist the game on Steam via the link in the description below. Here's a neat little title which I'm not sure how to pronounce, so bear with me on this one, where Runa and the Chaikurú Legacy is a 3D action-adventure platformer title that looks kind of neat. It draws upon the landscapes and culture of Latin America as our heroine explores the land to unravel the secrets of this ancient civilization, jumping across perilous hazards and battling enemies along the way. I find it quite interesting that it appears to be much more platforming focused, but they do not have the classic 3D platformer behind the back camera, rather opting for a more Zelda-style isometric angle, so hopefully it controls well enough so that you don't miss your jumps. It has skills to unlock which allow you to access new areas as well as artifacts to collect, with the early access release containing about 60% of planned content.
In a tower of mystery where realms unknown abide, choose your hero, take your keystones, let courage be your guide. Alone you stand, your quest begins, select your loot and prep to win.
Next to gambling-adjacent roguelites, another subgenre of interest is the inventory management of games like Backpack Hero or Backpack Battles, with the next game in this space being Megaloot. Curiously, while the earlier mentioned titles are more to do with inventory Tetris and placement of items with relation to other pieces of equipment, this game forgoes that entirely, instead allowing you to purchase and get loot from enemies, choosing which to equip, upgrade or sell, which can result in some impressive synergistic combos. It has a decent pixel art look as well, although not too much in terms of animations, but still, for a systems-heavy title, this will be of interest. Love indie games? Sign up to my newsletter to get a weekly dose of what's hot, along with some news and of course, weekly game giveaways, so if interested, link is in the description below. One of the largest survival city builders in recent memory is Endzone: A World Apart, which was released in 2021, one that is set in the post-apocalypse where you had to guide your people in their survival. And the developers are taking another swing at the idea with Endzone 2. Visually, it looks fairly similar to the first game, although according to the developers, they said that the graphics have been completely overhauled, where I think that it even has the same narrator used in their trailers, with it having all the base building aspects, like creating production lines for resources to construct new buildings to expand your settlement. In the key changes and additions part of the Steam page, instead of one giant contiguous map, there are now different zones with exclusive resources, and you have to manage multiple settlements and trade in between them. The settler AI has also been reworked and critically adds vehicles to this game for trade and exploration, which feeds into the changes to the expedition system where you send your settlers out into the world to explore and will be for fans of the genre. There are a whole bunch of titles, so let's get going through them, beginning with Aestik, a game that is, quite obviously, from the visual design and even combat animations, one that draws heavy inspiration from Hollow Knight, and in a similar fashion, it is a Metroidvania as you battle corrupted inhabitants of the realm to uncover its secrets. I suppose that as compared to something like Deviator, it looks less of a Hollow Knight clone, although not by much, but again, this kind of hand-drawn art style is not copyrighted or anything, and developers are free to make whatever they want, although constant Hollow Knight comparisons may be to its detriment. It might be a smaller experience, listing just 25 types of enemies and 15 bosses, but it looks pretty well made and is the hidden gem of the week.
Shipset, what's your ID?
Lexi.
Just follow my plan and we're home free! 3, 2, 1, duck!
Here's a neat looking title which has quite the history since this studio was formed after the success of their previous game Pumpkin Jack, which is neat, where they have now turned their attention to the robot-focused Akimbot instead, signing with publisher PlayOn, formerly known as Koch Media, which is a notable company. In line with their previous game, this is a 3D action platformer, unsurprising given the developers' love for Jak and Daxter as well as Ratchet and Clank, about a robot and a little droid sidekick as they save the universe. It's bright and colourful and appears to have great action and platforming, and given the pedigree, I'm sure that they've gotten the feel for this game down pat. A weird title that has some hype behind it is CORPUS EDAX, a first-person melee RPG with immersive sim elements, where you have multiple options to deal with different scenarios such as talking, sneaking, or fighting your way out of sticky situations. It has the setting of a retro, futuristic city on the brink of revolution, which seems prime for this kind of game, and while it is not that much of a looker, if you love titles like System Shock, maybe this will pique your interest. We also have the Steam release of Corruption 2029, the next game from the developer of Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden, which is fantastic, and in a similar fashion, is a character-focused, turn-based tactical RPG. However, it seems to be taking inspiration from Destiny in terms of character designs, so gone are the fun mutants, replaced by Destiny-looking types, with the reviews of this game not being great, and the developer just kind of threw the Steam store page up just a couple of days ago, so it seems like it might be lacking wishlists and interest, but if you're a fan of their previous work, maybe give this a go. After the success of Among Us, there have been a number of social deduction and asymmetric multiplayer games, usually pitting some sort of monster against the human players. So Dale and Dawson Stationery Supplies is a little bit of a different thing, with slackers hiding among the regular specialist players, and with the manager trying to determine who is not pulling their weight, looking like an interesting twist on the formula. I really like the look of Debtors Club, a hand-drawn, narratively driven management simulation in which you play as the tax collector, with the main problem being that City Hall itself is shady, so you need to carefully decide on what to do and who to pursue as you seek to halt the moral decay of the city. You have a daily collection quota that needs to be met, having to scrutinize financial records and to point out discrepancies, or even to send your pacifists to do the talking for you in order to get your money. This reminds me of Death and Taxes, with the narrative implications due to your actions, and has one of the best looks that I have come across. A bullet heaven roguelite title of interest is Defenders of the Omniverse, one that takes the tried and tested formula and puts their own spin on things, first with the art style and character designs reminiscent of 1980s Saturday morning cartoons, and also the fact that this game has actual boss fights, which are not just pellet-swapped regular enemies increased in size with a larger HP pool. In fact, the final boss of this game has random attacks and abilities every time you face it, looking like a good entry in this sub-genre. A title whose demo did decently well is Dungeon Divers, a Minesweeper-like puzzle game with the setup being that you're exploring and clearing derelict dungeons, having to disarm traps as you make your way through, find the core of the dungeon, and to defuse it so that you can get the cash reward. It is minimalist in presentation, but pretty effective for what it is, having roguelite style upgrades and items to help you out in sticky situations to uncover more tiles in the dungeon, for example, looking like it's for fans of puzzle games. On paper, Gori, Cuddly, Carnage has a large number of Steam wishlists, but there's something about this game that's not speaking to me. Being a 3D action platformer in which you play as a cat on a skateboard, using it in platforming and moving around the level, but also in combat as you absolutely dismember enemies into little gory chunks. Yep, that's the part that I don't get since it seems kind of excessive to me, but who knows, people do seem interested, so let's see how this does. The developer of Hollow Floor did reach out and I wanted to help them along, since this minimalist looking exploration Metroidvania looks cool and might have interesting ideas. This is said to be inspired by VVVVVV and Redder, where I'm not familiar with the second one, but appears to be similar to Leap Year from this year as well, where you die if you fall from too great a height. So if you love these kinds of smaller experiences, definitely give this a go. This next title is on the more sexy end of things, so I have cut the trailer for Kamikaze Lassplanes a little, just so that YouTube doesn't get on my butt, but it's a visual novel mixed with a shoot 'em up about girls which can turn into warplanes, so if you're into that, give this a go. This next title has been on my watchlist for a little while, where Koboo the Tree Spirit is a pixel art roguelite, so of course I'm down to check it out. From the trailer at least, it appears that they've taken the time to polish up the game quite nicely, where our tiny tree spirit has to battle against giant towering enemies, which, to be fair, should be human-sized or slightly larger, but things are relative, so our hero really is quite small. The combat looks good and appears to have quite the number of upgrades and looks pretty promising. A beautiful looking title of interest is Love Is... one that is not mechanically complex, since it is basically a hidden object game where you are clicking on items in the environment, but in doing so fills the page with colour, and with what appears to be relaxing music and a charming slice of life story, looks very pleasant indeed. Another DLC release of interest this week is Risk of Rain 2 Seekers of the Storm, the second of these which follows Survivors of the Void with new playable survivors, items, logbooks and more, and of course a new area known as the Path of the Colossus. This game has become a runaway success, which led to the developers selling off the IP to Gearbox, which you might note are now credited as the sole developer on this rather than in addition to Hoppo Games. So I guess it's officially no longer indie, a fact that many people still don't know about. I don't know how to pronounce this title as well, so let's go with Sentinel Girls 2, which is a side-scrolling action shooter where anime girls fight off waves of hostile enemy mechs. The first game, Marfusha Sentinel Girls, released in 2021 and has 2,300 Steam reviews as of recording, which is a very good amount, with the sequel looking to be fairly similar in concept, so if you have played the original and loved it, please let me know why in the comments below.
Never stop running, never stop sprinting, never stop leaping.
There was a point in time around the peak popularity of Fall Guys that everyone thought that the Battle Royale platformer would become a thing, and while, like most genres, it is winner take all, we have a new game here in Supermoves. This is a first-person parkour title as you race across the level with a variety of game modes such as regular race, bomb tag, which I'm guessing is a hot potato-like mode, rising tide, where you need to get to the end before something catches up to you, and most importantly, 40-player Royale mode, which should be similar to Fall Guys. There's also a built-in level editor, so I wonder what kind of tracks will be created, but the first-person, almost Mirror's Edge-like movement will be the unique selling point of this game. me being me, of course I have to give The Abandoned Planet a shout out, a pixel art point and click adventure game with some amazing art about an astronaut who crash lands on an alien planet which seems to be void of all life, having to figure out what is going on and to find her way off the planet. Of course, the art is the highlight, with the gameplay portion being inspired by LucasArts classics, so if you're a fan, do give this a look. There have been a number of games tapping upon the idea of a children's toy box of G.I. Joes and army men in a variety of different genres, with the next game being Toy Shire. This is a tower defense game in which you are setting up towers and defenses in order to fight off waves of toys, having some RTS elements as you command troops as well. The art style looks neat, so let's see how much strategy there is in this game, with the early access release including 12 levels, which should take about 4 to 5 hours to complete, which is 60% of planned content, but does allow you to create your own levels as well.
Vampire Survivors is coming to PlayStation! The game people have described as the most fun I've ever had with one hand! You can play as a dog! There are no vampires in this game! You get the right build and just delete a whole screen of enemies! The garlic looks like balls!
This one's for indie game developers. The free indie game marketing resources are ready, so sign up via the link in the description below to get it in your mailbox. After a little bit of a delay, Wartales makes it to release as well, a defense strategy title in which you are constructing defenses as they blast away at thousands of enemies, being one of the most visually impressive titles out there. In terms of systems, there is a deck building element where you are picking and choosing cards and buildings from different factions, although from the trailer and screenshots, I cannot tell how much freedom you have in the placement of your buildings. There is a single player campaign, Horde mode, which I'm guessing is to survive for as long as you can, and also Battle Royale for up to 30 players at a time, where I'm not so sure on that last one, given how player populations can be a concern for indie games, but as long as the campaign is good, I'll be down for this. A game which went instantly viral that might seem kind of silly when you think about it is Squirrel with a Gun, where hindsight is 2020, and of course a game like this would have a tremendous amount of hype, combining the popularity of the mischievous animal, see Untitled Goose Game, with the pure insanity and physics of something like Goat Simulator. Similarly, it is a sandbox title but set in more suburban areas where our firearm-wielding rodent seeks out delicious acorns, having to escape a secret underground facility and to battle agents along the way. On top of wacky physics, this does have puzzle rooms for golden acorns, so there's more to this game than meets the eye and looks to be a big hit. I grew up with the Impressions City Builder series, so I have a fondness for this genre, with Memoria Polis looking to be quite the ambitious title, since it will allow you to manage a city for 2,500 years, all the way from antiquity to the Age of Enlightenment. Time in city builders is always interesting to look at, since it often affects things like seasons, weather, and what resources become available, but then you add on this multi-year aspect, and it has the potential to be something special. It is semi-fictional, since it seems to be very Greek or Roman Empire inspired, but they also talk about the ability to construct wonders like the Great Library of Alexandria, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and Windsor Castle. So definitely a more European slant to this game, but the cities that you can build appear to be very large indeed, so if anything, I'm interested to see the scope of this thing. A new release which is about as much of a no-brainer as it can get for me, and probably you as well if you're watching this channel, is Crypt Custodian, an action-adventure Metroidvania in which you play as a mischievous cat in the afterlife which has been sentenced to clean up the afterworld forever. But it takes it in stride and gets to work. The stickler about this game is its branding as a Metroidvania, since it is obviously from a top-down perspective, but does have ability unlocks which are more than simply opening gates to access new areas, where you're even able to jump in this game, so definitely has elements of both. Whatever genre bucket this falls into, I think that it will be pretty awesome, looking to have an extensive map with many things to do. About 2.5 years after its early access launch, Core Keeper will be releasing in version 1.0 and launch on PS5 and Xbox Series X this week, with PS4, Xbox One and Switch versions in September, where this top-down crafting sandbox title is already fantastic, so you don't have anything to worry about. This is essentially top-down Terraria, if I may use that shorthand, about fighting monsters and mining for resources to craft better equipment, tools and machines so that you can go even further, even having co-op support for up to 8 players, and is excellent and is a surefire Game of the Year contender. Watch this video for more of the best pixel art games.